Peasant Productions presents The Math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Gonna have a little bit of fun here. Let me get out my notes here real fast, so, okay. This is called Why Cross the Street If You Don't Gamble? And I have throughout my life listened to people say, oh, I don't gamble. And then they go on listing all of the things that they do in daily life that technically is a gamble. I mean, when you lay down to go to sleep, whether it's for the whole night or just a short nap, you're gambling that you're going to wake up, okay? There is definitely that risk that you won't wake up. You go to churches and you pray and you put money in the coins and you make the cross and you say, I love you, Jesus, or I love you, Buddha, or I love you, Shiva, or, or Allah, or whoever. You are gambling on the idea that you are perfunctory in your behavior and acceptable to whatever your idea of getting into heaven is going to be. So you are gambling on trying to get into heaven. Okay? That is how realistically gambling is. You want to see a really bad example of that. You go walking through like this town here where people literally every time they pass a cross, every time they pass a church, and in some cases like the guy that is part of my manager's family here, he crosses himself every time he crosses the street, and he crosses himself as he enters and leaves buildings, okay? Most amusing. But I have sat there and watched the guy perform the cross on himself and literally step off the street and start walking across without even looking to see if there's any traffic. Okay, he's come close to being hit several times coming home in just in front of me. The person is definitely gambling, is he not? I mean, regardless of the functions of what he's doing, he is betting on this. $2 to win. I'm crossing the street, boss. Watch over me. Okay, it's a gamble. So yeah, why cross the street if you don't gamble? You're right. So everything in life really does end up being a gamble. And to put this in an even heavier perspective, that as we reach this point in time in your lives out there of the whole planet having severe problems and infrastructure failures and all this kind of stuff, you start thinking about these people who have 401ks, have insurance policies, have retirement, have reverse mortgages, whatever you got. Actually, reverse mortgage isn't too bad, because if everything if everything went down, you'd be still sitting in your house, regardless of whether or not you could make a payment, until somebody came and physically threw you out. But if you wreck your car, you're gambling that the insurance company is going to pay, or the insurance company is going to get payment from whoever hits you. Okay? If you go to a court system and sue somebody, same thing. You are gambling that your lawyer is going to get you, the findings you want. Okay? Now, you're gambling at every level, whether it's car, the house, your medical insurance. I mean, how many people right now know somebody that got dropped from their medical insurance because something they didn't realize was a pre-existing condition? And to give you a very, very funny story about that, I was up in South Lake Tahoe. I lived up there for about 5 years. It's definitely a tourist town. They definitely bring you in, they want your money, and then get on the bus and get the heck out of here. But the auto parts place that I was working in, we had a guy, Kenny, and he got married, and the woman got pregnant, and they were starting to do the, going to the doctors and getting stuff and piling up a few bills. So the guy calls up his insurance company, and he was literally there at the counter in the auto parts place, talking to this insurance company. And we're all standing around doing business and talking to customers while he makes this quick call. And the insurance company, we hear come out of his mouth, yes, I pay for pregnancy insurance in my health insurance policy for me and my wife. And he goes, excuse me? I'm sorry, you're saying you will pay if I get pregnant, but my wife is not covered for getting pregnant. Excuse me, sir, if a man got pregnant, I wouldn't need any insurance because I would be so rich. Yeah, okay, but needless to say, his insurance had a pre-existing condition that, the wife isn't covered for pregnancy, the man's covered for pregnancy. Yeah, so that's why I say it's a gamble, no matter what you do and how you look at it. So stop and think about what you actually do for a gamble. Your whole bet on heaven and all this kind of stuff. And then stop and think about somebody like me and my starship. This is the basic kind of concept of the design that I have in my head. And I have had this part of it, without a doubt, since 1978, when I declared that the ship was 10 miles long, 3 miles wide, and 1 mile deep. Okay. Now, and we're supposed to have these notes here. If I have 105 decks, this is 10 miles by 3 miles, that's 30 square miles, okay? If I cut this into decks that are 50 feet deep each one, I end up with about 105 decks, okay? 105 times 30 square miles is a little over 3,100 square miles of living space, manufacturing, shops, malls, whatever, okay? And to put this into perspective, rather amusingly, I did this for my son, actually. I was quite laughing because I wanted to see how it compared out. Los Angeles, okay, is 4,790 square miles or something like that. Yeah, 4,790. If I cut this into 50-foot section decks, okay, that you can use for each deck can be a habitable deck, okay, and you are looking at the idea of the building that I'm in, okay. If I give 20 feet to every deck for just plumbing and air conditioning and structural members of the starship and all of the necessary safety equipment of survival, I still have 30 feet left. An average 30-foot tall building is like 2.5 to 3 stories tall. If you're this Mexican building, cement, not even, well, it's a little bit of brick with some cement on either side. That's all they got. So there's not a lot of thickness. So 30 feet straight up is 3 of these, Mexican building, 3 levels of Mexican building, okay? So that's 9,300 square miles of actual habitable inside space. I am throwing, I think, 100 or 200, square miles away back on that original 31, just to say that there's up and down struts and supports and studs and bracing and all of that. So we're going to lose a little bit there. So you can see there's this humongous amount of area where, yes, I could, if Los Angeles County has a population of 10 million, and I have roughly twice the area of Los Angeles County, which not only has living quarters, apartments and condos, but it has manufacturing, it has the big oil plants and production facilities, it has Griffith Park and all these other large parks and the Angeles Crest Mountains. Yeah. And it's got all kinds of stuff, even beaches and stuff like that. So the amount of space in here is easily enough for me to take the proverbial 3% of a population necessary to create a change and put 21 of, we got what, 7 billion people, so we're talking about 200, oh, I'm sorry, I could put 21 million in here, which is 0.03%. But yeah, 210 million could be off in very easy amounts here with this type of stuff. This area is up here is more like a Star Trek type of a saucer. In this, my 1960s contract that I had with the spiritual realm, anything that was imaginable by me, anything I read in science fiction, anything I read of in any books or anything like that, or science stuff, anything like that that I could actually imagine here would be possible in this private section that is strictly for me. Okay? This was just to be cargo area. I wasn't told it would be living beings, but I was of the understanding it might be, it might be something like whales and, live living stuff, or frozen embryos and genetic material and who knows what else. It was just, it was kind of the cargo I had to haul around with me for a while. This area here would definitely have anything and everything, and this is about 3 miles by 1.5 miles by a half mile deep. Okay. I can control absolutely everything throughout the whole entire ship from there. These little dots down here are each little service vessels, what would be a shuttlecraft for your Star Trek or your Star Wars type of a thing. 20 of them running down each side of the ship. Each one just slightly less than a half mile. If it's 10 miles long, they have to be some kind of tubing coming down to, to connect to and have passengers. Same as an airplane has to have some kind of boarding system, they would too. All of the underside of this, 30 square miles, and as deep down as you want to go, it doesn't make any difference. All of this area below that would be for manufacturing, rocket ships and international space station stuff and satellites and all kinds of necessary terraforming and stuff. And like I said, because I can have total control of everything, I have all of Star Trek. Well, they have replicators. And I have my concept design understanding of a thing called a sun cell, so I don't have the lithium. Captain, we're working them too hard, the crystals are breaking down. That kind of weird stuff. And then Star Trek, which makes for a very good movie, obviously. It makes for a very good show. I don't really need to have all that. I've got my sun cells, and they're distributed all over the place. They can power pretty much anything, anywhere, for any length of time that's needed. So I don't have to worry about that. And replicators basically work off the idea of taking energy and creating physical matter, the same as the holodecks and stuff like that. So I have all of that capacity able to be used back here, but I can limit, for instance, you can't make a sun cell because you're one of those humans I had to rescue, and you folks definitely like arrogance too much. However, you start building a satellite, and you need a satellite and all this other specialized stuff that, only I'm allowed to have at the moment. And yeah, I can grant making all that stuff. You cannot have any way to try and do anything. And those satellites wouldn't have replicators, so you wouldn't be able to stick something in and have it replicate it back out. You would have, sun cells powering stuff and maintaining stuff, but you would be building your own environments in there. So this is actually quite a massive amount of a starship and a possibility and a dream. And for me, and my belief in what a heaven should be, and being up in heaven, this thing definitely fits my idea. So you see why I say when you start looking at religion, you need to stop and think about how much is going on around. And those of you that have actually read Heinlein and Asimov, the self-aware computers of those two guys. My whole entire ship would be run and occupied by one of those kind of self-aware, combination of that self-aware computers. So yeah, There is a lot of difference in the world, and there's a lot of reasons why I can gamble on this just as easily as you're going to gamble on doing a cross on your chest.